actually live. Hey everybody, I'm Dan Adelko and welcome to Live at the Hive. Today we've got...
Hi, my name's Dylan. I'm the intern here at Honeypot.
He's terrified right now.
I'm a little scared. It's my first live.
We actually have 200 people in the studio right at this very moment. You just can't see them.
Big audience.
Big audience. Huge. Everybody welcome Dylan. Give him a warm welcome for his first... I wish... You know, the next step is to get, like, on the radio, the cheesy applause.
And just as many little Seinfeld bass lines.
Absolutely. And we have, and of course, we have the indomitable...
dude who sits in a corner, otherwise known as Andrew Webb.
So technically I'm also in a corner on this side of things. Anyways, there we go. See, April says, hey, Dylan. There you go.
Hey, April.
So today on Live at the Hive, we have got, let me just switch the scene over here. Oh, I can't do it there. You're getting lots of hearts, Dylan. You're getting lots of hearts.
All right.
That is actually an unsettling amount of hearts.
There's a lot of love in the room today. So today on Live at the Hive, we are covering in what's working. We are going to do, Andrew, what do we do?
We're going to look at social media growth hacking as a whole, but going to start off with what's working with contests. Absolutely.
So let's just kick in right away. I think one of the things in general, let me just make sure I got I'm going in the right, clicking the right buttons. I was getting confused. There's two computers here. I was getting frustrated for about 30 seconds before because I was typing over on the laptop, hoping it would come up. Yeah, it was a long 30 seconds. Listen, it's been a long week.
Okay, fair.
When you get old like me, Dylan, the weeks get longer and longer. All right. So moving right along. So contesting, let's talk about contesting. And I think this really kind of flows through from what we've talked about in past weeks, especially with e-commerce and your digital marketing strategy, is consistency, kinetic energy, getting people excited, but not stopping and starting all of your marketing, promotional, contesting efforts. And I think we've talked quite a bit about content marketing.
Oh, yeah. I mean, and it goes hand in hand. But yeah, I mean, you can't just have one contest, say, maybe kind of, sort of, 6 months later, yeah, let's try it again, but I don't know, are we going to give it the same budget? I mean, to your point, consistency is absolutely key, both in what people expect, because you have to be a known entity. I mean, we almost beat a dead horse when we talk about, like, you can't propose to someone on the street, right? You have to build familiarity, but you also have to have some fairly familiar forms of contesting, and that kind of gets into, like, what kind of contest would fit your brand and what your audience wants to see. So, I mean, there are a couple, and I mean, we've done a fair amount here. User-generated content is probably a big one. Mm-hmm. That could be, I mean, photo submissions, caption this contest. We've had great success with caption this before. I mean, geez, video submissions.
Essays.
Yeah. We did get some suggestions on essay contests, and even I wouldn't go for that.
You would think it would be right up your alley, though.
You know, you'd think, but I've been a teaching assistant. I don't want to read that.
Yeah, over the years, what we've done here at Honeypot, I mean, we have written our own custom contests in the Facebook API in the past to great success. We did that years ago with Williams Coffee Pub, if you're familiar with Williams. I think it's Williams Fresh Cafe now. Mm-hmm. But we also, so literally, I mean, over the past number of years, we've run hundreds of contests. And large contests and small contests. So consider in your contesting strategy as you're putting that together is, you know, not everything has to be a concert level promotion, right? You can have a 24-hour, $30 gift certificate promo.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, right? Can be really simple, can be really easy. And I think the most important thing, to Andrew's point, is don't sit there and hum and haw and do one every 4 months. Get your audience excited. And that, it doesn't matter if you're B2B. It doesn't matter. You don't have to be e-commerce in order to do it. You could be a B2B vendor and supplier and inject some energy and fun into the conversations you're having with your existing leads.
Yeah,
right?
Even content companies or dedicated content websites, blogs, even they can run stuff. I mean, if anyone knows the website, what is it called? Kotaku from back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
No? Okay. Now I get to age myself.
Listen, Dylan didn't know who Howard Stern was about 5 minutes ago.
I miss a lot of jokes at Honeypot, to be honest.
We joked about Gilligan's Island one time. He didn't get it at all. Do you know Gilligan's Island?
I never watched. I know it was a big popular show about Gilligan on an island. So
There you go.
That's about all I got.
Well, that makes me feel a little bit better. Actually, why don't we actually just backtrack? Dylan, why don't you tell everybody a little bit what program you're in, and what are some of the things you're doing at Honeypot, and some of your side projects?
All right. Yeah, sure. So I go to University of Wilfrid Laurier here in Waterloo. I'm in like the general BBA business program. I'm in my 3rd year. I have a couple years experience with influencer marketing. So I grew a couple Instagram accounts to, my largest was like 260,000 followers. So that's how I kind of got into marketing kind of in high school. And then more recently, I've been selling through Amazon, through their Fulfillment by Amazon program, so FBA. And basically, that entails me talking to manufacturers overseas and having products sent to Amazon warehouses around the States, and they're fulfilling all of my orders while I do, PPC and things like that on my end. So,
Are you making money while you sleep?
yeah, some days, yeah.
That's an old internet digital marketer kind of shtick, when they're trying to promote something online,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
make money while you sleep. But no, that's great. And Dylan's been with us for what, 3 months now? Like you're almost at the end of your
Yeah, almost
formal
on 4
term.
months, yeah.
Yeah, 4 months. That's right. I always get confused. It's 3 or 4 months.
Yeah.
Anyhow, so welcome. And okay, so let's get back into the contesting thing here. There are tons of types of contests. So, your general submissions. The other thing I think that's important to talk about, and I'll bring up Gleam, which is one of our favorite platforms for social contesting. And there's a couple of key features in there that actually make it really great. Is understanding the notion of, and we've talked about this before too, of perceived value versus economic or dollar value. And I think it's an important distinction, because in a contest, if I said win $100,000, right? Everybody in the world is going to enter that just to get that $100,000, right? So, or if I said 95% off my product, I'll have people buying that product that actually don't really even want the product. They just like getting 95% off. Mm-hmm. And when you set the economics of your contests to be negative ROI, you're going to have a few problems with that, obviously, in the long run. But more importantly, as you're collecting the leads, you're going to be collecting untargeted, unqualified leads. And that is exactly the opposite of what we want to do, right? Mm-hmm. The notion of perceived value is that something is invaluable to an individual if they care about it. If it's something that they love, right, or that's meaningful to them, they will place an internal value that's very high on that, right? So just one quick example of that before we jump into Glean is, so we have a client that has a pain medication solution, right? So if I'm in pain and I have arthritis, and we were to put out your guide to active living with arthritis, 20 practical tips for living a happy, active lifestyle. Well, that individual that is in pain will see that information as being extremely, extremely valuable. Mm-hmm. But if I'm an 18-year-old high school student, I'm sure there are 18-year-olds that have arthritis, but
fair.
But in general, that's going to have a very low value to that individual. But we want to create offers and prizes that have that high perceived value, right? So as a strategic marketing play, think a little bit outside the box in terms of how you craft your offers. A lot of times people want to be, win a Ferrari, or 3 for 1, right? Which is crazy. Sometimes it's as simple as $5 off. People will be motivated by it. generating action and excitement in that contest is what the grand prize is. And just one other thing is make sure you're collecting leads. So I'll pull up, let's go look at Gleam here.
And yeah, a lot of these questions, or sorry, a lot of these points are actually answering some questions we're seeing in the comments section here. Hannah was asking what are some of the biggest mistakes that advertisers make with contests. So obviously you want to collect leads with the contest. You want to make sure that you're not bankrupting yourself with $200,000 offers when you can't afford it, or sending attracting the wrong people who really aren't going to have any remarketing value.
Yeah.
But Kristen's also got an interesting one here. What would the average cost of a social media contest be? And I know we've said that there can be a huge range, but like if you were, maybe the prize is $30, but just before we jump into Gleam, what could people expect to put into maybe an ad budget to promote it over Facebook, or like to boost a post? Like, what would that look like?
It really depends on how you want to promote it. But we've got a video on our Facebook page that talks about a growth hack that we've done with a highly targeted boost. That what you really want to do is you want to push the interest into your organic audience or to the targeted audience, and hopefully your message is good enough that they're going to start to share it. It's a lot like surfing. When you first get up, you want to catch the wave, right? And so your boost for $20, $40, $60, you could do that for a promotion. But if you do it properly to the right audience and really with the right exciting message, you can ride that wave and then get a huge amount of value over a very modest budget. So startups, home businesses, small businesses, don't think about necessarily and that's what I was saying about the perceived value. You can do something for very low cost that's of value to your customers. You can take imagine you just had 5 $20 bills, right? And you strategically place it throughout the contest to boost interest and intent. So this will also circle back a little bit to Hannah's question there. What are some of the biggest mistakes? A really neutral, flat, uninteresting message, right? You see contests that are effective, right? Like you got to be a little rah. Generate the excitement, generate the kinetic energy. Even if you're the only one screaming in the room, how exciting this is, eventually people will, you're the first one on the dance floor. Start dancing like crazy. Other people will join you. If you're standing on the dance floor looking terrified, probably not going to incite a lot of people to do it. The second mistake that I've seen and that we've seen in the past is extending the time frame of the contest for too long. If you've got a month-long contest, you better have intermediate prizing and surprise prizing in between to actually get people excited again, because they will forget. Right? So we've done that with larger contests, and what you do is you create, we actually do with Kickstarter campaigns as well, so if you imagine it's a month, right? And every Friday, maybe you do a Friday, a Thursday, a Saturday, is a surprise giveaway just randomly to somebody to get them interested, because what are they going to do? They're going to jump on their social media and tell everybody how they didn't even know that they had entered to win in the 1 week period, right? Leading up to the grand prize. So the mistake that sometimes people make when crafting it is it's too long and nothing happens in between. Because you get this, at the beginning you launch, there's a whole bunch of excitement, you get the kind of hockey stick, and then it drops, and then it gets flat.
I imagine if people don't hear anything after 3 or 4 weeks, they're probably going to get kind of miffed too.
What's going on?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, for sure.
So having a content schedule to update people, highlight if it's a user-generated content submission, highlight content that's been submitted that's your favorite. So like make the entrance the stars of it, right? Make them feel good. Surprise and delight. Always have things to talk about, but I would say compressing contest lengths is important. Unless you've got so for example, like the one I was telling you about was a trip for 2 to the Turks and Caicos, right? Yeah. So that had an estimated value of $15,000. So that's great. And we did take 6 weeks to do that, but I think we had about a dozen prizes in between, you know?
Okay, so, that's like one every
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So that's a good tempo then.
To keep
Yeah.
people interested, right? And then the last one I think is just dumping money in an ad budget is a mistake. It'll work. You can throw money at a lot of problems, but your ROI will be very bad because with a lot of these contests, in particular the social contests, the goal is the engagement, and the goal is to get your audience to become the engine for sharing and engagement, right? So,
and that relates back to your first point there. I don't think you should be. I think a failed campaign is one where you've paid for every impression, right? Like
this guy.
Agreed. Like you want to be able to start it and then have the crowd take it from there, or your audience, or whatever you want to say.
No, that's exactly right. And social networks are primed for creating those viral loops and being able to get into the viral sharing. You've got to be able to make sure, and again, that's messaging and excitement. One thing, especially, is targeting a message for a demographic. So if you're targeting men between 35 and 45, it's one type of message. If you're targeting women between 25 and 40, for example, have a different message, create a different boosted post, and only target it to those individuals. Yeah. Right? So make sure that you're talking to the right people. Don't just do one generic bland message and off you go. That goes
that's pre-marketing school.
But you see it so much, right?
That's true.
Yeah. So now you can see our super fancy picture-in-picture embedded with an overlay. Sweet. So this is Gleam. And Gleam is one of our favorites here. I'll just run over a little bit.
It's very sleek.
It is very sleek. We, in fact, just launched a contest this week on Gleam. And just a couple of things about Gleam in and of itself that make it really great. Just to our point there, right? Built-in viral sharing. You get an extra entry for anyone that enters via this link. So you get, pardon me, you're going to get a bunch of people that are very motivated, and they will be your highly engaged sharing group. And this gives them more opportunity and incentive to actually continue to share your contest, right? So that's a great. Oh, see, I just did it again. Too many computers around me here. One-click entry. Here's another thing. This is what the Gleam widget looks like, which is actually, it's quite pretty. But you can see here that you can also implement different steps to add an additional entry, right? So quite a few people will have multiple social media. This is kind of all of the things. So there's different ways to enter, which gives people flexibility. And then there's also the ability to add, so get an extra, share it on Twitter, get an extra entry, right? Embedded anywhere, and you can see here. The other nice thing is if you've got a very active Pinterest account, you can create a Pinterest contest specifically. So, and this is, I think, really important in terms of go where your audience is. Don't try to pull them away from where they are.
Right? Absolutely.
Yeah. And then one of the, I'm just going to skip here. This one is probably one of the most important. I mean, is the integration side of things. And why, Andrew, would that be important?
Well, you have to, I mean, geez, where do you start? You have to be able to keep track of everything. I mean, who entered, how many, I mean, I know Gleam has a system where you can actually get more entries based on, I mean, how many people do you share it with? How many referrals do you get? I mean, you know, do you do it on more than one platform? I mean, you need a system that can keep track of all of that stuff. And, you know, at the end of the day, still at scale, take your submissions and put them into a leads list.
That's the key right there. All of those integrations, absolutely. And I tossed that hand grenade over for fun. But it was the correct answers. Is really the goal of your contest is to generate leads, because when you generate those leads, you can remarket to them for free.
Yeah, you own that list.
Yeah.
Not to keep paying on social media.
That's right. And again, this is a typical thing that we see are, you know, companies and organizations will come to us frustrated with the state of their advertising spend, with the state of their performance, because they, one, are not collecting leads, right? So that means that all that money that you spent for that impression and that click is, you might as well burn it, right? That's a huge mistake. It's more common, shockingly common than you might realize, in fact. Yeah. And then what we definitely also want to do is make sure that if you're using MailChimp or ActiveCampaign or whatever you're using for your email marketing or an automation platform, is that you're segmenting those people and trying to learn as much about them as possible so you can send them the proper messaging, right? So that's just a little view of Glean. The one other thing, and I think everybody just came through this at the office this week, is never ever underestimate how complex creating these contesting campaigns can be. It's not easy. Some people will say, well, you just throw up the contest, right? You have got to have every single point of that contest planned, what the follow-ups are going to be, how you're going to promote it, when you close the contest, to contact the winner, to create a campaign for the people that didn't win. They will be the vast majority of people. Do you have a follow-up offer for those individuals? Because that's the key, right? Yeah. Or another giveaway. So for example, Neera just asked, how do you add more perceived value to your contest or lead generation efforts in general without actually adding things? So things...
I think you mean like hard prizes.
Yes, I think that's what she's talking about. So I could tell this like little story about when so years ago, I'm gonna make, I promise this will not take long. Everybody's probably rolling their eyes because this is like another story. Story time. And
children.
I will be really quick, I promise. But this was back in the day when there was 1 hour photo finishing, and I owned a Japan camera 1 hour photo finishing center. And what we would do, and I'll cut out like 80% of the story just to be quick, is the printer, who is often me, that was printing the photos, was you would look through those 24 photos and try to find the picture. There's always one picture on a roll, whether it's grandma with a baby, or you can just tell, like the great picture of two friends together, you know, whatever it is. And then what we would do is we would actually take that picture and give somebody, and we had a 8x10 printer on site that we had built, was we would do that and complimentary, we'd say, hey, look, you know, we saw your photos, we thought this one was really great, and we thought it was so great, we wanted to give you a free 8x10. That 8x10 would cost us $1.10. We would sell it for $13.99. But it's not the cost. The perceived value of that for that person is infinite. It's a memory, right? So what kind of things could you give to people? Well, you can give them information like the solution, the 20 steps to pain-free living. To somebody that's in pain, that's very valuable. Yeah. Yep. Partner with a content creator and make a deal with them. If someone has written a fantastic recipe book or an ebook, that has a lot of value to people. Workbooks, checklists, knowledge, information. It really depends, but I think there's a lot of creative ways that you could come up with to really engage with people at a nominal cost. Yeah. It's just a creative brainstorming session. Is what it comes down to. Okay, let's see here. And I think that about wraps it for contests. If you've got any more questions, Hannah just asked, at what point do you need it to get a lottery number and independent company to do the draw? These contests, excluding the province of Quebec for various lottery reasons, which is why Quebec is always excluded. You do need to get a lottery license. They're relatively easy to get. But with these platforms that are verified, they select the winner, and there are numerous ways to randomly. Now, sorry, you were going to say something?
No, I was just saying, I didn't know
that. The other thing that you can do is in the terms and conditions, do not make it a lottery, that it is not a random drawing. You can judge a UGC contest, a user-generated content, with a panel of judges, which we've done a number of times. Yeah.
Can you do that live as well and make it kind of an event for everyone? And then
yeah, you absolutely could. You absolutely could.
Get people to vote on it too, and then who's that guy for? Who's that really mean judge from some show?
Simon Cowell.
Yeah.
Simon Cowell.
Yep.
Yeah.
Hey, you know who Simon Cowell is now. Now we're getting back into the 2000s, right? Andrew doesn't know really who Simon Cowell is, but Dylan does.
Nice. That's my first First time that's happened.
Anyway, yeah, we just be like him.
Yeah. You can judge, you can create judges, and then it's not a lottery. Then it's a contest, but it's a judged contest, which is completely different. There's no expectation of randomness there. I'll give you one other quick example of a contest being creative. This was years ago. Was working with a company that was a royalty-free online image bank, kind of like Death to the Stock Photo. And they're called Crestock, great group out of Europe. And what we were doing was, so every year they would have a contest and give the winning designer, a MacBook. At the time, it was a tower design station, right? Big screen, lots of hard drive space, all that. But the thing is that's what designers already have. If they're high-end designers, like if they're professionals, right? So you're giving somebody something somebody already has, which they will do, but will they do it with passion? It's like, I want it, it would be nice, but didn't really make a difference. But what every designer wants to be is recognized, famous in their own way. So what we did was we reached out, and this is shockingly easy to do, and shockingly this cost almost no money, okay? We reached out to Snoop Dogg's managers, and he had an album called Ego Trippin' that he put out probably too many years ago now. But what we did was we negotiated with them that we would be able to get the official album artwork for Ego Trippin', because the album cover was already done. And what we would do is that the designers were given the assets and then full access to Crestock for anything else they wanted. And what they would do is they would win the ability to have the online, if Snoop Dogg liked it, and if he judged it, and if he wanted it. And it wasn't actually him, it was his whole team of agents and managers and whatever else they have going on there. And with that contest, what we did was we got over 7,000 submissions, some incredible work.
That's pretty good.
Yeah. We hardly spent any money. And we did not need to do anything on promotion. These designers were running out, telling everybody that they knew. Designers are probably friends with designers. They're on Behance and all these other sites. And we created a viral, loop back in the day. The interesting thing is, and we ended up having, semifinals and the final four kind of thing. The winner, this young guy out of the States, actually ended up landing a design job at Sony Music out of that contest because he was given the connection.
Living the dream.
Well, and I think that's Hannah's like, oh yeah, I remember that, and that was indeed years ago. But that was a fun contest because again, you tap into people's, it was slightly different, but you're tapping into someone's dreams. And that's a powerful motivator, right?
Sure, yeah.
I'm not joking when I say that contest budget was under $2,000. And we were able just to negotiate really hard. Because what it did for Snoop Dogg was it gave him this organic online presence, right? That differentiated himself from the crowd. And his album artwork for Ego Tripping, it was a few months. We completed the contest on the launch of the actual album. So it gave him a 3-month runway to have all this really cool creative, and we prejudged it and screened it. And then it found its way all online, and it was creating this buzz before his album went out. So that was how it was pitched to Snoop Dogg and his people about.
So everyone's winning.
Everybody's winning. And if you can, well, that's
Except
the out
the
of the deal. That's the out of the. Was that the worst Donald? That's not Donald Trump. That's terrible. Anyways, moving.
I have a quick question. How
Sure.
does one approach Snoop Dogg and his team? Like, how did you start that?
I don't know,
just-
it's 420, man. How would you approach it?
Is it actually?
Good call.
It's
It is.
431.
Well, no,
It's 420.
April
no,
20th.
I know it's 420,
Come
but
on.
it's supposed to be 420, 421. It all goes
Well, I mean, I wasn't going to try to shoehorn it in 10 minutes earlier.
down. IMDb. Yeah, and you can go to the IMDb and there's other databases and you can just find their management. It's actually shockingly easy to get.
So you just sent an email. And
Yeah, and I had a connection. I ended up had a connection which was random through a friend of mine's cousin who was associated with his management company. It was just a random
Okay.
thing. But you know what? Send an email. These artists and celebrities I mean, don't expect Brad Pitt to answer you, right? The A-listers or George Clooney, unless you've got a multi-billion-dollar Japanese scotch that you're willing to pay. But celebrities are looking for work. They always are. They're always looking to promote their brand, and they're willing to make deals and do things. So if you don't send the email, you'll never get the response.
Yeah.
Right?
And that's actually a great kind of segue / related point. April just asked, since Facebook has started clamping down on partnerships and sharing, how can you still go viral effectively or get just more of a boost? And I mean, you can kind of can you not turn those celebrities into kind of regular contributors to contests, or build kind of a network where they can, if there's a win-win going on with like artwork or something, could you not do the same thing promoting like a movie? Game.
I think one thing needs to be clarified in the Facebook clamping down on sharing thing. It was specifically on one-to-one sharing relationships in a pretty specific context.
Yeah.
Facebook will never stop something from being shared on Facebook. It's kind of their
sorry, that was poorly phrased on my part. Between big brands systematically sharing one-for-one on a daily or weekly basis.
Yes. Yeah, that's the thing they don't want. But there's absolutely nothing wrong, and this actually segues very nicely into our next point.
Well,
I'm not sure how that happened.
It's almost like April is psychic.
It actually does. It actually does flow because of the conversation we were just having. But if something goes viral, and if you have sharing partnerships, and that's not something Facebook is against. They were against the very overt.
Yeah.
Every media page.
Over-engineered media. Hogging the spotlight.
Yeah, exactly. When it looks like spam, that's really and it kind of got to that point.
Yeah. Well, if there's an opportunity there in a competitive marketplace, people will take it, right? Can't fault them for that, I guess.
Yeah, I'm of the mind with some of that stuff when you would see a media page saying, look at our friends from Cheddar every day, it becomes a little blatant and a little bit obvious. There's ways to do it. So, it is actually the next thing up on our schedule is creating genuine sharing partnerships, which is a little bit of Mr. Webb's speciality. There you go. You should have done this.
Yeah, I always poke myself in the eye when I do that.
Okay.
It doesn't. It's bad.
There you go.
I need to practice it more.
Yeah.
Or just what's his name? David Caruso from CSI. Just have another set of sunglasses underneath as I take them off.
There is a GIF like that, isn't there?
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm thinking of. Yeah.
Oh, just a quick note. We've got Andy Dedlow watching on the channel. Hi, Andy. I wonder if she's close by. She's working in the building. So. She's somewhere.
Otherwise,
nearby.
she's playing hooky, I guess. Yeah, Communitech's in the building, right? Yeah.
We're attached to Communitech. We're in the tannery, which looks like it all actually physically kind of looks like one building. You could walk around this place and you wouldn't know you're in the second building, but it is. So, yes.
Awesome. So that is something. That point that April raised is something we've looked at recently. Whereas before, we've worked with media brands to establish strategic partnerships where you can kind of grow your page laterally. Getting exposure to other people's fans who might want your content or who might be interested in it. Unfortunately, the recent algorithm change in Facebook. To say nothing of all the other Facebook stuff in the news. But that has really changed the landscape. So, the questions kind of remain, how do you grow your page without just pouring money into an ad budget, without just crafting boosted post after boosted post? And that is something that I think Facebook wants us all to do, and fair enough, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
But, I think a lot of people out there are probably wondering, what other options are there? Especially if you're a small business, or if you want to be a big business but you're still kind of small, it's your first 500 or 5,000 followers, you want to be at 5 million eventually. Where do you start with that on a bootstrap budget?
Well, I think Dylan, you also have some experience with this from your Instagram influencer work.
Absolutely.
Instagram in and of itself has always been driven by partnerships, right? So how would you go about doing it when you were building yours? Was there any?
When I was doing it, once I hit maybe like 20,000 followers, I started building out like a network of probably like 24 similar pages, similar size, similar niche, and we would all work together and help each other out, and that was like the number one way to grow by far. So,
and that would be called a pod, I guess, or that's one of the terms that's been bandied about that. But for sure, so take that example. And our old friend Gary Vaynerchuk talks about this all the time, is like use direct messaging, develop a relationship, reach out to a page owner. And this is kind of the same thing about like, wow, how did you get to Snoop Dogg? Well, I just sent an email. It's like, just ask, right?
And you can find the right people too. Even if they take all press inquiries through an agent, you can find the agency. You can find the agent. You know, we have mystical dark powers that we can use to find this information. Maybe. And we'll probably no
well, agencies like celebrities in particular, they want to be found. So it's really true. You'll see every single celebrity, and depending on their size, they'll always have like, business contact, right? Like if you're doing esports, for example, every single streamer has that.
Especially the mid-level influencers as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So in terms of businesses, we've actually got a client that has a network of very wonderful event locations, restaurants, wedding venues across this area. And so if you're a local business and you're saying, well, yeah, okay, but this is an Instagram profile, like none of this really matches what I do for a living. As an example, what we have done in the past is, so these are venues for weddings and special events. They have preferred vendor lists of photographers and videographers and caterers and all sorts of things. Is actually striking up and promoting them. Promoting them, they'll promote you.
Yeah.
Right? Feature their work. And then they will start to organically share your stuff, and their audience are your potential customers in that case.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, by nature, by definition, it works the other way around. It's a two-way street. So you could say, well, yeah, they're in the event space, but I'm just a caterer. What do I do? Well, you promote their event space. Everyone else who works with you, they're promoting you in return. You get more exposure. Maybe you find more clients. You can start marketing at them directly. Start sharing their stuff. So it's a very organic process.
Yes.
And I mean, actually, you should be talking about this more. Why am I talking here?
No, I agree. I think regardless of your business, you are on some level associating with other businesses. So why not create this little network of like an engagement group, like a pod? It's just businesses you regularly associate with.
Yeah. So in our case, as a marketing agency, we purchase a few monthly subscriptions, right? I heard. Yeah, we have a bit of a budget for that. Erin's throwing her phone against the wall, our finance specialist right now. So we purchase a lot of these tools. So for example, one long-term relationship that we've always had is Vidyard. So we promote their content. We love the tools that they create, and their content is really great. So we promote that on our social channels as part of a thought leadership and tool series as well, right? So it kind of applies across the board. Like if you own a coffee shop, or if you own a men's clothing store, women's clothing store, you have suppliers, right? Feature those people, like strike up those relationships, and all of that is 100% genuine. That is not anything that Facebook will ever clamp down on you for. Yeah.
No. I mean, the only thing I think they would, again, the only thing they'd clamp down on is just, when you have a schedule out of tagging each other on every 24 to 48 hours or, but if you're a small business, if you're in the coffee shop, you can promote local artists and have their stuff hung up on the wall, or if a furniture depot in the area, maybe you can promote their furniture featured in your shop. Locally sourced ingredients from around the area. It could be anything, right?
The possibilities are limitless, and if you're a B2B and you've got you've got partnerships out there with your suppliers. Feature your customers if they'll let you, right? Like talk to them. There's just the possibilities are truly limitless when you are creative and actually being social on social media, right? And brands are getting better at this, but brands have traditionally taken a little bit longer to get used to this. Is having a personality on social.
Yeah, and I mean, and for a lot of brands, I think it can be hard to differentiate. Like, they don't want to always talk as people, because then do you dilute the brand, or how much reputation control do you have over that, or one wrong line could. I mean, you can see where some of the fear might come from. But I mean, what would be your take on that? For like, have you seen brands kind of get out of their comfort zone and really actually get social in a productive way, or is it still just, or do most of them still do it the Walmart way, where it's just like 2,000 followers on Twitter, 99 billion served, but they're still like, yeah, just here's our flyer. It's like, but I don't live in this region. Thank you for your interest in our flyer. It's like, where do most businesses fall on that spectrum, do you think?
I would say not great.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, I think a lot of businesses are a little bit out of touch. This reminds me of, I just wrote a blog post on brands trying to address social issues within ads, and it reminds me of the Pepsi ad with Kendall Jenner. But I think a lot of them are on the outside, kind of looking in on things within social media and not going about it the right way. I don't know.
I know what you mean. I think there's a pretty wide variety. So you go from your best that have figured it out. Wendy's, for example.
Oh my God, it's so funny.
Yeah, Wendy's is great. They hired a comedian. That's that person's only job, right? They didn't kick it over to.
That's what we do.
Didn't, no offense, but they didn't kick it over to the intern, which is what a lot of companies do, which is ridiculous. Because again, social media is simply the current state of the entire internet. It's not a small thing anymore.
Yeah.
Right?
No, and that's a quote we live by at Honeypot.
Yeah. The other side of it is there are some brands that still treat it as if it's a broadcast medium, and those are the ones that are failing. But then you also see some. So I don't think there's a blanket answer. I think over time, and with the legitimacy of what social media is,
getting better.
As opposed to, and I still deal with it all the time when talking to people. Is people will still say, well, I don't know if my audience is on Facebook, and I mean, we have to get over this notion. Almost everybody, at least statistically, is on Facebook. That is statistically relevant, especially in North America, is on Facebook. CEOs, C-suite executives, the rich, the powerful. Everybody. So your audience is going to be there. Yeah. So it's kind of a silly statement. Likewise, another one that I often hear is, well, Snap is for the kids. Well, yeah, womp womp. Well, millennials are pushing 30, right?
Yeah, some of us are even, not me, but millennials, some are 35 or 36.
Yeah, I don't know really the lower limit of what, I'm Generation X, so I'm out of the picture.
I'm not a millennial.
You're just Generation Z. You're Gen Z.
Oh, wow. You know what? You're actually closer in age to my nephews.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah.
Right. Oh, man, Andrew.
Sorry.
You know what?
I can actually cane in the other office.
No, I actually can envision Andrew in his 70s sitting by the fireside reading his grandkids,
I'll read
Charles Dickens at Christmas.
I can see it now.
I can see it.
Probably more like Wheel of Time or something.
There you go. The Chronicles of Narnia. Anyways, where were we? No, I totally off track now. I was going to say that as businesses take the power of social media more seriously, and right, wrong, or indifferent, these Facebook hearings and all of this conversation has actually proven to people that didn't ever realize the true power of this medium. Mm-hmm. You're seeing smaller companies, in fact, that are being creative because they kind of have to be. Yeah. A really good one, and Hannah will like this, I'm sure, is a friend of mine They're called Whiskey Run Golf Club. They
That
have
sounds amazing.
they have it's down in the Niagara region, and a small golf course, really great little spot. But obviously they don't have a massive budget, but they do Facebook Live. They had a Donald Trump impersonator series. They do Facebook Lives from the golf course with contests, and they do like a contest a week. And it's a small business with a pretty target niche in an area that's a little further away. But they do a really great job of making it more than just look at our golf course, right? One of the staff members there was pregnant. They had a contest and a pool for the dates, time, and weight of the baby. It was just a social contest, totally organic. Yeah.
Brands, that's how you get really personal. Take notes.
That's right. Well, it did, and it's true, right? So, for example, with our client that has the wedding venues, one of the things that we implemented a while back was celebrating the people that just got married. And having a human voice, like congratulations, Joe and Jenny, what a beautiful day on, and special thanks to, Bob Doe Photography, right? Like, so you kind of, the triple threat,
Yeah, and I mean, the more people you tag who are relevant, the more shares you get. So I mean, you can.
And then they tag you back, and then
Yeah.
And it's a really human, really naturally written, organic post. And obviously, a bride and the groom in the days after their wedding, before all the stress leads up, you have this great party, you take a few days off, you're going to go on your honeymoon, you strike when the iron's hot. They're going to share that to everybody that went to their wedding, and we've seen incredible amounts of engagement by simply inserting ourselves at those critical junctures. If you do it 4 weeks later, it's still nice, right? But it's not as fresh.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, because they're not going to be as. I mean, they might have even already circulated wedding photos at that point, right?
Right. Yeah. Totally. Okay, well, that wraps it for that part. It was actually nice the way those two topics kind of actually did flow into one another. No.
We should do that more often.
We should do that more often. We're getting better. We've made vast improvements as we on. We have one error. It's actually episode 23. I messed that up. Womp womp. I can fix that. I'll fix it now just to really confuse you. So now we're on the what's new section. So who added this one? Everybody adds a little bit. Twitter Bright Spot, Twitter Live.
I can talk about this one.
Okay.
So interestingly enough, brands are finding it very beneficial to be doing their live streams on Twitter as opposed to like Facebook and YouTube. I'll just get the number here. Twitter reported in February that some publishers have seen record revenue and had 60% year-over-year increase in payout in terms of their live stream payouts. So I thought this was really interesting.
And that's just for Twitter?
Yeah.
No.
Good for them.
And initially what I'm thinking is people come to Twitter because they want to engage in like a conversation, right? Whereas people are going to YouTube or Facebook maybe to be entertained more and just receive, like just watch. So that's the only reason I can see for such good engagement on Twitter. I don't know what you guys think.
So Periscope and Twitter. So I've personally gone live on Periscope. There was a time when I was very consistent with it. Periscope actually has a really, 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 really high engagement rate as you get more consistent. And the other thing is that Twitter will give really preferential treatment to live streams. They love when people go live on them. But the medium is a lot more in a sense. It's changing and they're kind of converging a little bit. But people, viewers on Periscope and on Twitter are extremely interactive. And they will interact and they will comment and they will talk and that they don't know who you are. And now Twitter Live, in terms of the monetization side. So for example, right now we're streaming on Periscope on a number of different profiles. The Twitter Live is a monetization side, so it'd be running pre-roll and mid-roll throughout your live. And it's just going to show, Twitter's been doing a lot of this year. This last year, Twitter ads has they're obviously focused. It's been updated at least 7 times, I think.
Just make sure you're advertising for Cheerios.
Yes. Yes. Anyways, that's an inside joke, I think. So yeah, Twitter and Periscope's older than Facebook Live by a long shot. It's been around for a lot longer.
That's true. Yeah.
So I think I definitely agree with what Dylan's saying there, is that it's a very interactive platform. Facebook is a little more passive. You will definitely get, like we have, a lot more lurkers and a lot more people that come in after the fact. Periscope, what I've noticed with Periscope is you get fewer after the fact, but you will get easily more during, if that kind of makes sense.
Mm-hmm. I can see that.
So, yeah, but it's really cool. And as you can see on the screen here, so there's dozens of series. Someday Live at the Hive will be on there, but you've got BuzzFeed's AM to DM. Cheddar's, I believe, got a channel on there, and I've actually seen I watched.
Hey, good for them.
I think so.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure. I know, and I've watched TikTok, which is Bloomberg's. TikTok I've seen coming up in my Twitter feed like crazy. They've been featuring it a lot in Moments, which, as we know, it doesn't hurt when Twitter features anything you do in a moment.
We have seen a lot of success with that. What was it?
Would be the red crabs video, I believe.
I think it was the coconut crab, the giant coconut crab.
Coconut
one.
There's a giant right?
Yeah, because the dog was like, "Hey, what's this?" And it
Yeah.
was just like, I mean, it was a very unfortunate caption. This contest in the making. It was just
Yeah, totally.
Sorry, the claws were like that long.
Okay, let's see. So next up on what's new. No, we had a couple here. Let's go into, and I love this one, augmented reality. So
Pokemon Go fans unite.
that's right. But does anyone want to give the audience the differentiation between VR and AR?
Sure.
Yeah, go for it.
Go for it.
All right, so from my understanding, I'm not too big into this stuff, but VR essentially is where you put yourself in, like, you completely immerse yourself in this virtual experience, while augmented reality is more, you're placing certain virtual elements into your real world environment. Would you say that's a fair explanation?
That's exactly what it is. That's exactly. So augmented would use the camera. Obviously, if you're using an Oculus, AR would just allow you to see out. And there's a ton of really, so the thing that most people are used to, and it's actually referenced here, would be Pokemon Go. And one of my favorite stats is the only thing on the internet that has exceeded the traffic of porn in the last 20 years has been Pokemon Go for straight up throughput on the internet. And by a long shot. Look it up, Google it, it is incredible. Yep, it's the only thing. That's like, Google hasn't exceeded that total traffic either. So, I mean, take that for what it's worth, but Pokemon Go has been an incredibly, incredibly popular game. Really earth-shattering for Nintendo. Yeah. Like really, really, when Nintendo kind of needed it the most prior to the Switch release and everything else. But I think it lifted somewhere around 22% the valuation of the entire, and they're a multinational corporation based on that one game.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's a movement. But that's an entertainment aspect, but I can think of like literally dozens of AR applications. So for example, if I was IKEA and I'm looking at the catalog and I'm trying to sit there envisioning how this cabinet is going to look in my living room, well, there isn't a whole lot stopping me from holding up my camera with an IKEA
just
VR
like
AR app.
rotating it on the screen or something.
You could rotate it on the screen, so you would select your product. You would and be able to rotate it, hold it up, and then see and then take a photo of it, send it to your spouse or your interior designer, and say, "What do you think of this?" Yeah. So home furnishings, right? Any of that kind of stuff. Renovation and improvement. You could actually see if you were going to just redo the kitchen counter, what it might look like in reality, as opposed to just a 3D rendering.
Yep.
Styles, fashion. So I could take a shirt and I could do a selfie, hold it back, or have someone take my photo and put the shirt on. Oops. So I'd be able to see,
Yeah.
I can't stop. I mean, there's just too many. There's literally too many examples to figure out what AR would be useful for from a sales and marketing perspective. But I think it's got probably, in fact, a lot more potential than VR, straight up VR for that application.
Yeah, I mean, and already we're seeing a fair amount of the 360-degree Facebook photos where you can look around just by moving your phone. I mean, it would be a very, very small step just to put some sort of AR application in that as well. I mean, you could, even if it's just like a little Snap-esque kind of prop, whatever it is. But I mean, it's like you can see the foundations are already kind of there, like they're being laid.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And I think the thing to keep in mind is this is very much innovative. So if you were to be willing to invest in that type of technology as a brand, and this is also something that we talk about quite frequently, you have a window of opportunity that is ahead of the curve, that if you are there at the right time, you will get 100 times the benefit of going. It's almost like recognizing that Facebook would be an incredible company when Zuckerberg was sitting in a dorm room, right? Or meeting Sergey Brin and Larry Page and being able to invest $75,000 in this wacky company called Google, and getting in like there, now you would be a billionaire, right?
Man, yeah.
Likewise, and I do believe that IKEA does. IKEA is probably one of the more innovative companies, especially recently. I believe they have had some. I've seen some rumblings about their potential AR applications that they're working on.
You know what would be kind of a fun application, just for the heck of it, would be some sort of some sort of Lego AR app, just for kids, just to see what they could build in like their backyard or something through a screen. Or
It's called Minecraft.
I don't know if you guys saw this one, but the Microsoft HoloLens, that was like their goal, right? So
Yep.
okay.
You put this lens on and you can interact with your environment. So you would like, throw like a Minecraft like bomb or dynamite or whatever, and the wall in front of you would explode into like Minecraft blocks, opening up this whole world beyond your wall.
Yeah.
Look up Microsoft HoloLens.
Yeah.
It's a pretty
So
cool
I was
project.
at E3 last year,
I think a couple years ago.
or
now.
maybe a couple years ago. So when Microsoft bought Minecraft from, well, the guy's name is Notch. And he's an interesting character.
Is it that guy with the fedora?
Yeah, I think he does. He's a billionaire now. But they bought the studio. The studio had, I believe, 9 employees total. So what Minecraft really caught on as a sensation, and Microsoft recognized a huge, massive potential for their VR technology and 3D gaming, because Microsoft is. It's impossible to overstate how much of an institution it is among young and old people around the world. It's really Lego for the 21st century. It's like, you imagine, Lego's still kicking around, but my kids play it and people build crazy things with Minecraft. But yeah,
I've seen King's Landing rendered in Minecraft.
Yeah, like it's insane. There's a guy in Finland that does these million block.
I've seen some of these.
You've seen
They're
this?
just absurd.
It's absurd. It takes the guy like 3 months, and he sits there, and he's an interesting character. But then as he zooms out, so the block is like a pixel on your screen, and the higher resolution, the more pixels you have. So it starts out, you can't even tell what it is. You zoom out, you get this incredibly high resolution. He's done dragons and all sorts of crazy things. It takes like 1 million blocks. So anyways, yeah. HoloLens is Microsoft's Oculus Rift. It's their VR offering. So yeah, definitely check it out. I was gonna buy one, but then I was like, no, wait. And then my house is too small right now, so I'd be like walking into walls anyways, so it wouldn't really matter.
I think a notable one with the whole AR discussion is Snapchat. I don't think a lot of people think about what they're actually doing when they have like the filters, but that itself is AR, right? And you have brands capitalizing on that with
Filters,
different sponsored filters, but that itself is AR technically.
That's right. We had created a series of custom filters for Cineplex during some of their esports function. They were very popular. They're really popular. Again, really brand building, but yeah, that's a good point, Dylan. That's a great application of augmented reality. So really powerful stuff, really definitely something to keep an eye on if you're in business and marketing. In particular, and now that transitions us to our next actual topic here, which is Snap, don't underestimate the power of Snap and Instagram. And although we've got another article on the last thing that Instagram has now copied from Snap, which they like to do.
Long list.
It's a long list. It's I don't know, Evan and Mark, no bueno. Not buddies. They're not cool with each other. But if you're a small business, before we get into this one, don't dismiss Snap and Insta. They're really powerful, and you can do local targeting to specific audiences, and you're going to hit different demographics. And if you do it the right way, you can get some really great pickup and awareness on those channels. Yeah. So this one's one of my favorites. It has been a couple of times, but Snapchat looking to offer the new e-commerce options for Discover publishers. What's our favorite parts? I know what my favorite thing about it is.
Oh no, this is all you.
This is all me.
No, okay, I can talk about it.
Sure, yeah, you start off.
Yeah, so really, once again, I think this is part of the e-commerce conversation about going to social selling is going to just increase. It's not going to go anywhere. It's powerful if someone can purchase your product directly on that social network without having to go to your store or Amazon or wherever. You're going to get a reduced conversion rate because they're leaving their experience for the current experience. So if I'm on Snap and I'm talking to my friends and I see a product that I really like, I have to stop talking to my friends, doing what I was doing, and have a very high level of intent to go to your e-commerce store and complete that transaction, right? So there's a huge fall off because people will say, oh, I'll do that later, and they never do, right? Or they get in the middle of something and they don't want to leave that experience. With Snap, the Snap store right now, I think it's just, there's very select items in their Snapchat gear, but it's clearly a test.
Yep.
That you'll be able to insert, brands will be able to put their brands in Snap Store and sell with a swipe, right? The thing I love about it is instant gratification. If you've got that right thing and it's just a swipe, it's like Amazon one click. Yeah. I've got a story from years ago on the iTunes store when I had been imbibing a little too generously one evening. I bought with one click the entire Beatles collection. Yeah, it was a paltry $399 US.
What year was that?
Just stop it.
No, like
it's whenever it came out.
Inflation is what I was going for.
I was back in 1934, my heyday. No, I was living in Vancouver, so it has to be at least 10 years ago. And I bought the collection, and I and the stupid thing was my hard drive crashed, and then at that time I never got it reimbursed. Because there's a certain time period that iTunes would not let you re-download.
Awful. That's painful.
I wasn't happy. And then I went back to iTunes. Because you just get angry at things like iTunes, and then you're like, okay, I'll be back. Right? Like I quit social media kind of thing. No, but the point being is that the convenience of it is extremely powerful. And for brands that have a presence on Snap, they're going to have a huge opportunity for sales here. So...
Yeah, do you think that they'll bring more analytics to Snapchat with that? Because I know for a while, my understanding is that they've changed this, but that it used to be considered dark social. So do you think that they will make that available more in depth? Not just sales figures and numbers, but actually like maybe not quite Shopify level, but
more Facebook Insight level.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the thing with Snap was, I think Snap was a happy accident for Evan Spielman because it did start out as a hookup app that would blow up your content for colleges and university students, right? So that, it definitely filled a market need because that content would not live out there to come back and bite people in their future. But I think Snap is growing up, right? Like Snap is evolving and they've got earnings to hit, and they've got, they're coming out of their infancy, and moving forward, and also, you know, fighting to compete with Facebook. So yeah, I think it without a doubt, to get the big brands and the big advertisers over time, you really don't have a choice, right? So
Yeah, because who's going to want to advertise with them if they can't see every little
every
stat behind their ads?
Yeah,
It wouldn't.
yeah, exactly. Cool. You know what? But I gotta get. You know what? I need special effects. I have.
You know what? We need that sound effect when in Super Mario you die.
Yes.
We need that.
We need the
timer
Price
video.
is Right. Yeah, that's bump. I actually have them on my laptop. I have a bunch. I have
Next
the
week.
famous. Yes, next week. I have. You know the famous Scream, movie Scream.
Oh yeah.
There's one movie Scream that was done in the 30s, and it has been used in literally almost every action movie for like 80 years.
You know what? I think I know which one.
Do you know which one I'm talking about? It was in Star Wars. It was in it's been in Indiana Jones. It's in like.
Is it the one that just kind of peaks right away and then has kind of a grainier drop off?
When
We're playing it,
We're on a
folks.
quest.
yes, in Return of the Jedi, when one of the guards falls into the Sarlacc, the giant monster,
Oh, yeah.
that's the Scream. Oops.
Maybe it's a different one then.
No, it's you'll know it. This is totally off topic, by the way.
Live at the Hive after party.
This is how I have at the Hive after party. The Wilhelm Scream.
Compilation.
Sounds very, I don't know,
Let me see.
Lovecraftian.
It's like I'm pretty sure it's from the 30s, if not further on down. Let's just see here.
Oh, it's at 100% volume, folks.
No, this isn't very loud. Oh,
Okay.
I might have. Oh no, it's because it's I can't actually do it. So you caught me on the spot here. It's called the Wilhelm Scream, and just do it on your phone or whatever, and you will recognize it. Famously, we need that one. Anyways,
Volume screen.
next
Alright.
week coming up,
Next week.
sound effects in the graphics queue. Pow.
Stay tuned.
All right, everybody. Well, thanks for joining us, and thanks for the Twitter sphere. We had, let me just see here. Let me just go and double check again. So we've peaked out at 1,126 total viewers for basically our second Live at the Hive on our Periscope channel. So
Very nice.
to validate that part of the conversation that we were just talking about.
Perfect.
Yeah. So good stuff. So have a great weekend, everybody. And Dylan, congratulations on your
Thank
first.
you.
No,
I made it
no
through.
no need to be nervous. See?